This video is going to get dislikes before it ever actually gets to the CBC intro. So chances are that if you've made it this far, you're actually willing to listen to reason and you want to hear where I'm coming from in regards to the MCU and how they're literally learning from every mistake that Fox Studio has made from X-Men. Let me once again be perfectly clear. X-Men First Class is still my favorite comic book movie of all time. X-Men 2 ranks higher than any MCU movie in my favorites. I just want to make that very clear before I get into this. But as an X-Men fan, even if you're a bigger fan of X-Men than anything MCU, you have to admit one thing. The franchise has literally lived and died on the backs of 3 actors. Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, and definitely Hugh Jackman. The franchise would literally bend over backwards to make sure that these characters were involved with everything in every single way, always outshining the younger actors or even a reboot. And when we get to the reboot, let's talk about that. Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, and Jennifer Lawrence. These characters came on with First Class and they were given room to breathe. They legitimately had room to grow as brand new characters. But of course, once again, it's a younger version of Professor X, a younger version of Magneto, and a brand new take on Mystique, which doesn't line up with the originals. And of course, Hugh Jackman made his return with Days of Future Past, once again having to hang on to him when the older movie didn't do so good in box office. And that has really been their big issue. So we get on and we start looking at the future of the X-Men movies, and what have you noticed has recently happened? James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Jennifer Lawrence have all signed on to return for another set of movies, so probably another trilogy. Which means that the younger X-Men, once again, are not going to have the time to be built up and developed because they can't, because they're not getting paid top billing, and they're going to want to make sure that these top actors are the ones that are highlighted everywhere because they're what's selling the movie, because Fox isn't willing to build up new characters. Now granted, they did it with Deadpool, but Deadpool, how they build an audience. Deadpool has already been meme pool on the internet for a decade. People knew who he was. They were willing to give it a shot because it's something fresh. Unfortunately, Fox can't afford to do that with a bigger franchise because they still are stuck in that mentality that these actors are what people are coming to see. Now this is where we get into Marvel Studios. This is what they can learn from them. You hang on to those people that built your universe. You hang on to Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. You keep a character like Captain America around. You keep the Hulk around. You keep Thor around, as we're seeing. But you introduce these characters in a less intrusive fashion. Like, you don't want Iron Man to be the star of Spider-Man Homecoming, but you do want to market that he's there, which they definitely did. But you watch that movie, and he's in the movie literally less than 10 minutes. And people thought he was going to be in like 50% of the movie. Now, compare that to what the X-Men are doing. Oh, we're doing a X-Men movie again. Yeah, it's going to be Apocalypse. Look at us focus on the younger X-Men, and here's the older X-Men you've already seen. And then they promise they're going to do that with the next series, and then they hire back all these actors that are going to want top billing to have it in their contract, how much time they have to get, so they got to get that much time. And that's unfortunate, but Marvel doesn't seem to be doing that, do they? They understand that you got to build your franchises out, and you got to future-proof yourself. So yeah, you're going to have Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury appearing in a film like Captain Marvel, but he's going to be a supporting role to kick off that character with familiarity. Sure, you had, a character like Black Panther who cameos in Civil War, but he's getting his own movie that's spinning off from that, that's not relying on the fact that someone big has to be there the entire time. And it's these things that they're learning from the X-Men movies. It's these mistakes that can make sure that the Marvel brand never gets stale. And granted, Fox is trying to do that with New Mutants or something, but we still don't know what this is largely going to consist of and how it's even going to be framed in the larger universe. Is it even? Is it not? We don't really know. So I think Marvel is more or less playing the safest game they can. They are future-proofing in a smart way, where Fox is playing the safe game the other opposite end of the spectrum which now seems to be failing, which is just stick to what's known because it's worked so far. And that certainly didn't seem to work for Apocalypse, so I don't know what they're looking at.